Today's my 59th birthday, and figured it's no better time than today to try something new, right? This is my first TikTok video, and I thought I'd just share my story, but it's really a story about each of us. So, first of all, birthdays are no big deal at 59 years old, other than you're glad you made another one. But for me, this one does mean a little bit, because it was 10 years ago today that I started receiving my first cancer treatments. In 2016, I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma cancer. Multiple myeloma is an incurable blood cancer, and it affects your bones. And I had been in pain a long time. I thought it was from old injuries, from playing sports when I was young, from riding motocross bikes, and just, when I was young, I thought I was 9 feet tall and bulletproof, and I thought I was just paying the price for it. Summer 2015, I sneezed one day, and it put me on the floor, hurt my back. I was pretty sure I'd fractured a rib. I didn't go to the doctor. It's a rib. What are you going to do? You wrap it up and move on. But it just kept getting worse and worse. I was just in agony all the time, and I am very blessed with a high pain tolerance. You got to be tough when you're dumb, right? So anyway, I'd get better and I'd hurt myself again. Also, every couple of months, I would get sick with chest congestion, fever, and I've always been extremely healthy. So that was pretty unusual. My back was just killing me all the time, my low back especially, but even my mid back. And at the end of 2015, December 2015, I told my wife, I said, I've got back surgery coming next year. I just can't keep living like this. And it was really impacting the quality of my life. So I kept putting it off. So March 30th of 2016, I was sick again. I was coughing, and just chest congestion was horrible. And I got in the shower and I started coughing, and it caused my L5 vertebra in my low back to collapse. And it actually broke in half. And that's what really started my journey. And I found out the reason I was in so much pain. I had fractures in every vertebra. I had clusters of fractures like spider webs through my ribs and sternum. For about 6 months before then, one of my ribs on the left side would just randomly pop out of place, and I'd just take my hand and shove it back into place. I guess a normal person would have gone to the doctor at that point, right? But anyway, I had lesions, holes in my bones all over my body. The largest one was about the size of an egg in my ribs, around back. They told my wife that my skull had so many lesions, so many holes in it, that it looked like Swiss cheese. And, I told my kids that since I had extra holes in my head, they had to call me Holy Father. So anyway, warped sense of humor, right? But, I share all this with you, and I'll say this too. I went through some really brutal treatments, 2 rounds of what they call VDT PACE. Lost all my hair. I was gone. I had to go out of state for treatment. I was treated at UAMS in Little Rock, Arkansas. They specialize in multiple myeloma, and one of the top facilities in the world. And I absolutely love that facility and the people there. I'll also say that I did tandem stem cell transplants, about 90 days apart, maybe a little less. That was fun. I will say this. You hear all the horror stories about these brutal treatments and everything. And like many things in life, it was bad. It certainly wasn't pleasant at all. I lost all my hair multiple times, and I went from probably 205 pounds down to 167, I think. But it wasn't as bad as I made it up in my mind. And that's pretty common, I think. A lot of times the things we worry about and the things we make up in our mind, it's just way worse than the reality. And for me, it was. Now, I also say attitude matters a lot. Every single day I tried to find something to be thankful for. And that's why I said it's my story, but it's really a story about each of us. Because every single one of us is going to face something in life, some kind of hard time, some kind of tragedy. It might be health, it might be marital problems, it might be financial problems. You know, you may be the victim of a violent crime. We're all going to face things, but we have to make that conscious decision of how we're going to react to it. You know, in these tough times, these dark times, it's so important for us to just really make that conscious effort to look for something good, something to be thankful for. I call it looking for that speck of light in all the darkness. You know, when you concentrate on the good, the bad just doesn't seem quite so bad. You know, you find that little speck of light in the darkness, and you hang on to it like a lifeline. You try to look for something good coming out of these bad situations. For me, there were so many good things that came out of it. You know, I immediately recognized the fact of how blessed I am with family that loves me, friends that love me, people that came to support me, you know, for my spiritual beliefs, for my God. And you know, it humbled me, and I needed to be humbled, because I'd never truly thanked God for how blessed I am. You know, I'll never forget, we were turning in the parking garage, and I'm a financial advisor, and I say this not to boast or anything like that, but we'd been out looking for apartments because I knew I was going to have to be out of state for weeks at a time, and maybe even up to a month at a time. And we were turning in the parking garage to go meet with the doctor again at UAMS, and I told my wife, I mean, that image is just burned in my brain. I told my wife, I said, we are so fortunate. And she said, what do you mean? I said, yeah, this is going to be tough, it's going to be expensive, but because of what I do, I mean, I can do it from anywhere, and you know, and my income is I have a lot of residual income. And I said, you know, so many people, they're trying to decide, do I put food on the table, or do I get the treatment I need? Do I stay home and you know, and work and do all these things that things that I didn't really have to worry about, you know? And it just sorry, my arm's getting tired. It just made an impact on me. And because of all this, and I've always tried to be a very generous person, but it made me more generous. It made me more considerate of others. And like I said, it just humbled me to look around. It's made me slow down. I'm a type A, and I've always been full throttle, focused on the destination of life and not really the journey of life. And it made me slow down and just look around, just like, my God, you know, thank you for the life I have. And it wasn't about mortality. I figured out a long time ago, I'm not getting out of life alive. You know, none of us are, right? That's why I joke and say I sleep good at night, because I know where I stand with God and my life insurance premiums are paid, so I'm okay. And besides that, I've nearly died many times during my life due to my own stupidity. So I know what that feels like. It's a little scarier when you're facing it slower, but you know, it just, like I said, and because of all this, I got really involved in patient advocacy. I became a patient ambassador for one of the pharmaceutical companies. They'd send me around the country to share my story with people. And, you know, and that really brought a lot of personal satisfaction to me. I had so many people just that would come up afterwards and tell me, what an impact, my presentation had on them, and a lot of times they'd be crying and they thanked me, but what they didn't realize is that it was probably doing more for me than it was for them. And of course COVID shut down that, and I ended up starting my own Facebook group. I got into some Facebook groups, and honestly a lot of them were depressing to me, and a lot of them didn't allow any mention of spirituality or anything like that. And I just I felt like there was something missing that some other people might need. And so I started March 27th of 23, I started the Multiple Myeloma Warrior Community Facebook group. And I thought it'd take a year to get 1,000 members, and boy, it just took off. And I mean, here we are. This is May 20th, 2026. Like I said, it's my 59th birthday. And we are now 12,000 members roughly. So, I mean, it's just growing like crazy. And because of that, I've gotten connected with people all over the world that are dealing with this disease. And because of that, I actually met some people with a company called Polygon Health, and they are a healthcare technology company. And long story short, if you want to know more about that, just make a comment. But anyway, I had an idea in the middle of the night. I was laying in bed with a flu, running 104 fever, and I had this idea for a technology platform, and I just call it a God moment. The only way I can describe it is, some people say that, like a sculptor looks at a block of marble and knows what it's going to be, and they envision it. I had this vision, and I don't normally think that way. I mean, there's a joke around my house, and that is that I'm a great idea guy, and occasionally I have a good one. But anyway, so I had this idea. I was so excited about it. I couldn't even sleep. And the next day I called Wei Lin Ming, one of the founders of Polygon. He and I had become friends, and I told him about my idea. And anyway, he liked it. He said, yeah, we can do that. And they actually changed the direction of their company. And now I'm the chief patient advisor for Polygon Health. And for those of you on the investment industry, that is on my OBA. The rest of you, that doesn't matter. Anyway, so we started working on the platform, and it's basically a map and that connects patients and caregivers and healthcare professionals and nonprofits and even local support groups and lots of other things. And we have an AI-powered frequently asked questions section, and I mean, it's just so many things. You can actually message other members on the map, so you can look in your community and find if there's somebody near you and maybe connect with them and develop a friendship or a local support group. You can search for support groups all over the country. So it's just all kinds of things you can do with it. And this technology can be used for any disease or medical condition. And anyway, so we launched that, and once again, long story, not really short, but shorter. The Department of Health and Human Services found out about it, and now Polygon is one of 60 companies that is working, technology companies that are working together to develop healthcare technology for the Department of Health and Human Services and Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. And I'm the chief patient advisor, believe it or not. And I mean, it just shows how amazing things can come out of horrible situations, because I believe this technology is going to save lives, and it's going to impact people all over the world. Our country first, but I mean, this can be used anywhere, and I'm just so humbled to know that I'm part of that. And it's not about me and what I've done, it's about God and the opportunities He's given me. And going back to it, The people that love you and they care about you, they're watching you. When you face hard times, they're watching you. What kind of legacy are you going to leave? How are they going to remember you? Are they going to remember you as the person that was angry at the world because you're dealing with this certain situation? Are they going to remember you as somebody that felt sorry for yourself and wallowed in your own misery? And I know it's tough. God, it's not that easy. And I have my down days too, I promise you. It's okay to have down days, but you just can't stay there. They're watching you to set the example. I mean, think about it. The people that love you and that you love, your children, your friends, your coworkers, if they're facing a tough time, if they had cancer, or whatever the circumstance is, how would you hope that they dealt with it? Would you want them to be angry? Would you want them to feel sorry for themselves? They're watching you. You set the example. It's your opportunity to impact, have a positive impact on others. And one of the best things I have found, one of the best things that I've found when I get down is to focus on others instead of myself. There's nothing better to lift your spirits than to do something good for somebody else. So anyway, like I said, this is my first video that I'm doing for TikTok, and I'll post it on some other places too, probably. But if this impacts one person, it was worth the 17 minutes it took me to do this. So I hope y'all have a great day, and just take a moment and just examine your life and say, what do I have to be thankful for? Look for something good. Think of others. Take care.